Hi, fourth grade. We are going to do some examples. This will be the examples from the notes that we are doing together. So the very first example in the notes, you can see that I have step 1, step 2, step 3, and the notes look like this. So you can see that they're going to be in Google Classroom. And it says to find 2 equivalent fractions for each fraction. So the very first one I have up here is 3/7, and if you want to find an equivalent fraction for this, again, you can pick any number you want. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pick 2 because I believe that's what's in your notes. 2 is very popular just because it is the easiest one to get. So as we get 2, then we are going to multiply straight across. Again, 3 times 2 is 6, and 7 times 2 is 14. So 3/7 is equal to 6/14. Our second is 3, I believe I've used for that note, those notes. And we're going to do 3/3. Anything you do on the top, you have to do on the bottom. You have to have this the same. Otherwise, it's not equivalent. You have to balance that scale. So if you want to, you can go ahead and put that in a box because that's going to help you to remember that they have to be the same number. And in this case, we have 3 times 3 equals 9. And 7 times 3 is 21. Again, we're multiplying straight across. Therefore, 3/7 is equal to 9/21. Our second example for your notes is, let's see what I have over here. Looks like I have 4/9. And again, if we want 2 sets of equivalent fractions or 2 equivalent fractions for one fraction, again, I have 2/2, and we're going to get 8/18. Remember that we are going to multiply just like this. And this is going to help you with next year when we do multiplication of fractions. And for the bottom one with 4/9, again, let's just pick 3. You don't have to. And we're going to get 12/27. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Now what you're going to find most of the time in your book, they're going to give you either the factors, right? Because these are factors. Remember, anything you multiply together, those 2 things before you get a product are called factors. Or they're going to leave something blank, and that's what we're going to do right now. That's our next set of examples. Okay, so then our next set of examples say, just part of the equivalent fraction is there, and you have to find the missing part. So example 3 is 2/6. This is example 3, and you're going to have 2/6. So that equals what? Well, they're saying that it's going to equal something over 18. And again, that's the blank. So what you have to do is you have to figure out what goes in that blank. So 6 times something equals 18. 6 times what equals 18? 3. So you're going to put 3 here. Remember, anything you do on the bottom, you have to do on the top, and vice versa. Those 2 things have to be the same, those 2 factors. So if we multiply 3 times 6 to get 18, we have to multiply 2 times 3. And that blank then we're going to get is 6. So that's finding the missing part, okay? The second example for 2/6, again, getting another equivalent fraction, and that should be an equal sign right there, is giving you the numerator, okay? And the missing part is on the bottom. So now what we have to do is we have to figure out how do you go, whoops, drop my marker. How do you go from 2 to 8? What times 2 equals 8? 2 times 4 equals 8. Anything you do on the top, you must do on the bottom. That's why this is going to be in a box, and it's the same. 6 times 4, what is our missing part? 24. Okay, so these are equivalent fractions. We're going to do 2 more, and then we will be finished with our notes. on equivalent fractions. The next two, 3/5. And for 3/5, what do we have? We're looking at a numerator of 12. So what goes in the blank? And for down here, we're looking at a denominator, that's ugly, a denominator of 35. All right, so what do we think, guys? So now we need to fill in all these blanks, okay? So for up here, how do we go from 3 to 12? What times 3 equals 12? 4. So anything you put on the top, you need to put on the bottom. So if you multiply the top by 4, you need to multiply the bottom by 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. 5 times 4 is 20. So 3/5 equals 12 over 20. Let's do the last one. 3/5 times something equals something over 35. So now you have to think, what times 5 equals 35? What times 5 equals 35? 7. So if you put 7 on the bottom, you have to put 7 on the top. They're equivalent fractions. They have to be balanced, right? You can't have it lopsided. So 3 times 7 is 21. And therefore, the blank would be 21. So you're going to get a couple different sets of directions. It's going to say make 2 sets of equivalent fractions, and that's where you can use any number you want. You're going to get a missing part, and you have to fill that in, okay? So if you do a worksheet for me or Admentum, this is what equivalent fractions is going to look like, okay? So there is another part to the section, but we will get to that later. Right now, we're just going to do some equivalent fractions, all right? Have fun. Thanks.